simple driver dot find element command. Okay, you can find the element by ID, you can find the element by name, right, and you can perform the action on the web element. Okay, now uh, the thing is, what if the element is having no ID or no name? Then what we do is that we use XPaths, and today we are going to discuss XPaths only. Okay, when you have the option by the XPath. Okay, there is one more thing, CSS selector, which also we are going to discuss with time. Fine. And I'm going to create a new Java project known as day 5 and include the jar files. Okay, and in this, I'll make a new file known as xpaths.txt. Fine. Now let's talk about XPaths. XPath is, you can say something like the address of the element on the web page. Okay, like you have an address which identifies you. All right. And you can say that there are two types of XPaths. One is absolute XPath and the other one is known as the partial XPath. What is the difference? Um, suppose, hold on. Let me talk about absolute XPath first. Um, suppose you are on this website. Let's take a very basic example. On the sign in page, and suppose this is the username field. Okay, if I inspect this field, this is the field input tag. Fine. And let me just go to the doc view. All right. This is the input tag. All right. Now everything is starting from this tag over here, which is the HTML tag. This is the root tag, and under it somewhere, okay, the input tag, which is of the username, is line. So we'll start building our XPath from this HTML tag. If you hit Control F of the keyboard, Control F, you will see a text bar coming up at the bottom in which you can write anything. Okay, so this is the HTML tag. So I'll just write HTML. So it will be highlighted in yellow. Okay, right. And inside this HTML tag, you have got the head tag and the body tag. Okay, you want to go inside the body tag because the element of your choice resides somewhere inside the body tag. Somewhere inside the body tag, you have the input tag over here. Okay, so you can write HTML slash body. So you go inside the body tag. Fine. And guys, 1 minute, somebody from the class is calling me. Just hold on 1 minute. Yep. Okay. So everything is inside this particular body tag. Fine. And if you look carefully, guys, just a minute. Somebody is not able to join the training. He is calling me again and again. Just hold on. Just hold on. I'm sorry. All right, fine. Sorry. So, this is the HTML tag, and under this HTML tag, you have the body tag. Okay. Now, under the body tag, you have got many tags, and you want to reach somewhere towards this input tag. Okay. So, this is the body tag, and this body tag, if you look carefully, I'll just move this above. This body tag has got many tags, and you want to go inside this div tag because somewhere inside this div tag, the input tag is lying. Okay, so you write over here slash div. Okay, then after that, you have to go inside this div tag, and out here you have got this another division tag. Okay, right. Out here you have got this another division tag. And this division tag, if you look at it carefully, there are three parallel division tags. Okay, this division tag, and this division tag, all three of them are lying under this division tag. Okay, right. Now you want to go inside the first division tag. Okay, so you will write div bracket 1. So div bracket 1 will take it to the first division tag. If you write div brackets 2, you will go to the second parallel division tag. So these three division tags are not one under another, they are parallel to each other. So I'll write div 1 and you will reach the first division tag. And under this first division, you again have got three division tags and you want to go inside the first one again. So you will write slash div bracket 1 again. Right. And under this division tag, there are two parallel divisions. You want to go inside the second division. So slash div 2. Okay. Then there is a form tag. So slash form slash. Now after the form tag, you have got this particular section where you have got one input tag, another input tag, two division tags, and one tag known as the I tag. You want to go inside the first division tag. Okay, these are two parallel division. Rather, there are five parallel division tags, out of which two tags are div tags. Okay, so you want to go inside the first one, so you'll write div1. Okay, and inside it, again, you have got three parallel division tags. You want to go inside the second one, so you will write div2, and under this, again two tags. You have to go inside the first one, so slash div bracket 1, and then again you have got two tags. You want to go inside the second one because it holds the input tag, so you will write div2 slash input. So this becomes your complete or absolute XPath to identify the element on the web page. Okay, there is no need to calculate such XPath manually like I did. It was just an example. You can right click on the element in Chrome and go to the option copy full XPath. Okay, and you will see that um, just a minute, you will see that you get the same XPath with just a slash in the beginning. You get the same XPath. Okay, I by mistake put two slashes. Yeah, you can use this XPath in your code. I'll just make a new class known as rediff.java. Okay, and you can write the code. Sorry. And in driver.get, you can put this URL. You can go to this URL, and after going to this URL, you can write driver dot find element by the XPath, and you can give this full XPath which we just learned how to derive. Okay, you can take this full XPath. All right, and paste it. Okay, and instead of clicking, this is a text box. You can write dot send keys hello. When you run this code, you will see that it goes and types hello over here. Okay, now this absolute XPath, we don't calculate it like I did. You just right click on the element and you can get the full XPath from here. But we refrain ourselves from using such an element, such an XPath. Okay, we don't prefer to use such an XPath because, it starts from the root of the document, the very basic root. And if something changes on the web page, maybe a new division tag is introduced over here in the very beginning, then all the absolute XPaths will change. Okay, all the absolute XPaths will change. That is why we use the partial XPath. All right, we calculate the absolute XPath from the rate of base of the document. So we don't prefer to use it, although it is very accurate and there is no harm to use it once or twice as well. So at times nothing works, but absolute XPath, it definitely works. Okay. So what we do, we prefer to use partial XPath. Partial XPath, listen carefully how it works. It starts with a double slash star. This basically means all the elements on the web page. Okay. If I just copy this and paste it here, on the right side, you will see one of 986 elements. Okay, one out of 986 elements. And if you click on the down button, you see that every element will be highlighted one at a time. It basically represents every tag on the web page. Okay, but of course, we will not use this XPath anytime. This is just an example. Now you have to drill down to the element. Okay, if you look at, like I had told you that if you investigate the web page, like if I investigate the forgot password, right? I think there is someone in this class who is joining for the first time, I guess. Kalpana, is she joined? Right? I think you missed the first trial classes, first four.
And me too, Shashi here.
Pardon? Pardon?
I'm also the first class.
Okay. Look, things will not be so simple for you because you guys have missed first four classes. First class was just an introductory, but from day two we started. So we will also give you the recorded videos after the class for the classes you have missed. Still at this stage, you can cope up. Okay. So maybe you will find things a little bit different, but just try to concentrate. It's not as tough or as you will not feel out of the world, basically, what I'm trying to tell you. Okay. So what I was telling you was identification of elements and you put double slash star. Now, if you observe any link on a web page, if I look at this forgot password link, or it's in an anchor tag A. Every link on every web page, no matter what is the website, will always have the tag name anchor A. Okay, so if you write a double slash and you replace star with A, this will basically represent all the links, basically the elements which start from the anchor tag A. Okay, so if you copy this and paste it here, so it will represent okay, script tags are also coming. Hold on. You see the links, they come up. This is the link, this is the link, this is another link, anchor tag. Okay, so it will represent all the links on the web page, but generally we don't extract all the links on the web page like this, but I'm just giving you an idea. Okay, now if you investigate any element, if you investigate the username field, it is highlighted over here. If you right click, you get the option to copy the full XPath. And there is another option known as copy XPath. This is for the partial XPath. Okay, if you copy the XPath for this element, like this, /*. That means all the elements on the web page. And out of all the elements on the web page, give me the element whose ID is equal to login1. Okay, at the rate ID is equal to login1. So this becomes your partial XPath. And if you can replace double quotes with basically single quotes as well, because that's what we need in the Java programming. And you can write the command over here, driver dot find element by the XPath this dot send keys. So this, when you program the program, so it will go and type hello inside this text field. Fine. Okay. And if you observe carefully, just a minute. The tag name for this element is input. You can also write the XPath instead of star. You can be more specific, /input. That means out of all the input tags on the web page, give me the element whose ID is equal to login1. You can also use this part, this XPath as well. Now, if you observe some other element, like for example, this is create new account. If you copy the partial XPath for this, not this one. Hold on, let me go to some other website like CNN.com. Okay, if you look at the highlight, the heading, this is the heading. If you copy the XPath, you get an XPath something like this. Okay, now how is this XPath formed by the browser? You need to understand how it is formed. What is the basic logic behind it? Look, I will be the XPath over here. It is highlighting the element. In the end, you have the h2 tag, which you can map over here. Okay, now this h2 tag was not having any ID. Okay, so it jumped one tag back. This h2 tag is actually lying inside this anchor tag. So this is anchor tag and h2 tag. This anchor tag is also not having any ID. So it jumped over to its parent tag, which is the article tag. So you'll be able to see the article tag over here. So it keeps on jumping the tags till the time it finds an element which has an ID. Intel homepage 1 zone 1. So I think,
Section class.
yeah, this is the one. Okay, this is the ID. Okay, you can just check it out as well. You can actually just cut this part of the XPath. This is the element whose ID is this. So it starts building the XPath from here and it goes to the h2 tag. So it finds the nearest element which has an ID. Okay, and it starts building the XPath. All right. In our previous example, I tried to get the XPath for this create new link. Fine. And I tried to copy the XPath, and what I got was that I got a complete XPath. Okay, I copied the partial XPath, but I got the complete XPath because when it traverses above, it finds no element which has an ID. So it reaches the HTML tag and simply builds the complete XPath. Over here, when it was traversing, it was able to find an element somewhere which had an ID. So it started building the XPath from there. Okay. So if you don't find any element with an ID, it gives you the full XPath. Okay. Right. So it's not a rocket science XPath. It's quite easy. All right. You just need to right click on the element, copy the XPath, and basically use it in your code by writing driver.find element by the XPath. Okay, and you can extract the web element and fire the command. Now, one thing, a mistake which usually people do in the beginning, they will forget to put a single quote over here, or they will forget to put a bracket over here. And when you run the program, what happens is that you get error, exception. And again, you should understand, always read the exception. Invalid selector exception, and it tells you this selector is not valid. So when you get an exception, as I told you in the last class as well, you don't have to worry that what's happening. Read it carefully. It will also tell you the line number, rediff.java line number 30. Click on it. This is the line number. Okay, you need to put a bracket. Now, this is good. Okay, look, guys, whatever I'm teaching you right now, anybody can learn it very easily. It's not just that, there are many sources to learn these things. It's not just that you can learn it in a class or something, right? You can go to internet, you'll find a lot of tutorials on these things. You can learn it. But the our main motive is to learn it to a level where you can start working on a project and build a framework. Okay, so these are regular Selenium commands. When we'll be done with these commands, we will start off with the framework as well. Okay, now this is done. All right. After this, there is one thing which I need to tell you, which is the concept of inheritance in Java. Okay, look, this is the code which I'm just copy pasting in every particular file, which is to launch the dynamic browser. We had seen this on the third class. Okay, so instead of copy pasting it in every class, right, I'll tell you how we can reuse it. Fine. Let me talk about the simple, I'll explain you inheritance, the concept of inheritance in Java in the simplest form, and then I will move over to Selenium as well, and we'll move further with these commands. Okay. And I'll also tell you how inheritance is important. It will be used in the frameworks as well. It will be used everywhere. All right. Now, suppose I have a class and um, I'll simply call that class as machine. Okay, a simple class known as machine. And it has a function known as, okay, and in this I'll just print starting and top. Right. Now, suppose I have another class known as, say, car class. Now, car is a machine. When you speak the English language and there is a relationship of a type is a, inheritance is used. Car is a machine. Okay, so basically that means whatever are the features of the machine class, they will be there in the car class. Okay, I can copy these two functions inside the car class as well. Okay, but instead of copying them, what I can do is that I can write the line extends machine. When a class extends another class, it acquires all the properties of that particular class. All right, fine. Um, Basically, if I create a new class known as test car with the main function, inside it, if I create the object of car class is empty. It's got no functions, but it is extending the machine class. That means it is extending the features of the machine class. Whatever is there in the machine class will come in the car class. And when you create the object of the car class, you will be able to call the start and the stop functions. They will be accessible. If I run this code, it will just print starting, stopping. Okay. In simplest words, this is what inheritance is. This is the beginning of inheritance. That is, one class extends another class and it acquires whatever is there inside the parent class. So technically, what we do is that car is known as the child class and machine is known as the parent class. Okay, car class can also have its own functions like refuel. Okay, right. So which can be accessed from here. So child class, it acquires everything from the parent. Okay, and after acquiring everything from the parent, it basically can define its own features as well. All right. And if I draw a diagram, it is something like this. That is, you have one class. This is known as, anybody ask something? Any questions? Okay, can it extend private method defined in parent class too? It depends. Okay, right. Hold on, I have not taught you the accessibilities, Sathi, right now. Okay, I'll tell you the modifiers as well. Okay, the access modifiers. All right. So if this is the if this is the child class, then sorry, if this is the parent class, then the outer one is the child class. This is the parent class and this is the child class. The child will have everything what is there in the parent plus its own features as well. Okay, and we are going to use inheritance in our framework everywhere. Okay, now somebody was asking, can we extend the private functions as well? And what about those? I haven't talked about access modifiers right now. So when I talk about them, I'll tell you. Okay, so what we can do is that, right, I'll make a new project now, which I will be using in the entire training. I'll make a new Java project known as Selenium commands. So we are learning the Selenium commands, and concepts of Java right now, and I will include the Selenium jar files. Okay, and we'll create a new class known as um, or a new package first of all. Package basically means a folder. This is the source folder. I cannot till now I have been keeping all the Java files under the source folder, but we should not be doing that. We should be organizing our code. Okay. And I will just create a new package, a folder known as the base folder. Okay. And I will create a new class known as launch browser. Inside this class, we will keep the code in which with which we launch the browser. This particular, I'll make a function in which you will send the browser name. Okay, what type of browser you want to launch, and that particular browser should be launched. Okay, and suppose I have another class. I'll make a new package known as day 5. Okay, today is the fifth day, and we had made this rediff.java, right? So I'm going to make the same class rediff.java over here, and we'll make a testng test case. I had taught you how to install testng. Okay, so we'll just make a new test case known as rediff test. Right. I add the testng library, import it. And you know what we had been doing was that we had been copying this piece of code everywhere and writing it. So we'll not do this. This class will extend launch browser class. Okay, you will have to import it from the base package. And now since this class is extending this class, it has got access or it is having the launch browser function. You can simply call the launch browser function with the browser name over here. Okay, so when you run this code, you will be seeing a Chrome browser opening. This is something like inside the refuel function, you call the start function. The start function was there in the parent class, right? Since the child has got access to everything in the parent, so you can call the start function inside the refuel itself.
Hi, Ashish, I have a question. You created a test car Java class, so it will import the functions of machine as well as car class as well. Uh,
If you create the object of car class, I am not
yeah,
importing anything. Okay,
uh,
I'm just
it
creating
can
object of the car class.
okay.
Okay, this object has got access to the features of car as well as machine because the car class is basically extending the machine class.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so if in test car, if I instead of car class, if I create the object of machine class, then I can only access the start and stop functions. I cannot access machine dot refuel because obviously this is a part of the car class, this function.
Car class.
Okay,
Okay.
right? So it's not that I can use the functions of car or machine. It depends on the object which is being created.
Okay.
Okay. So similarly, in the launch browser as well, I made a class specifically to launch a browser, put a function inside it, and I am using that function over here. Once the browser is launched, you can work further on. Okay, but once the browser is launched and you need to go to a website and you need to write the command driver.get http google.com, which is giving error on driver because it's not able to find driver. Where is driver? Driver is a local variable inside this function, which is getting initialized. So what we will do is that we will make driver global. We will put it at the global level so that it is accessible in the child class as well. Okay, what I mean to say is that, okay, you should use public in front of it. I haven't taught you access modifiers, just you write public. What I mean to say is that if machine class has got a global variable known as name, okay, right, then this name variable can be accessed in the child class as well because child acquires everything from the parent, even the global variables. Okay, I can use, I can write the name as car over here. Okay, so similarly, the launch browser function has a global variable web driver, which can be accessed in the child class as well. Over here, driver. And now you can use all the driver commands which we had been using, like these two commands which we had used. You launch the browser Chrome and then you go to a website and you find an element. Okay, now how will this code help us? What I have done is that I have used inheritance, of course. Okay, see, it was quite fast. It's working. Now tomorrow, if I have to teach you some different website. Okay, let me just create a new class known as say Zoho. And let me make a new test over here. Public void do login. And hold on. So the Zoho class can also extend the launch browser class. And you can call the function. If you hit Control space bar, you'll see all the functions from the launch browser which can be accessed. One of them is launch browser. And you launch the browser Chrome. And you go to the zoho.com login page. So this is a reusable class I have made. Okay, so you reach this web, you write driver dot get to this particular URL and you write driver dot find element. Now this is the username field. Suppose you have to type in this username field. So the ID is login ID. Fine. So you can write over here by the ID. Let's see in this login ID dot send keys. Okay, so It's just that I'm changing the websites and everything, but the process to launch the browser is same. So I'm taking help of my parent class launch browser over here. So this is the advantage. See, it types hello Zoho. Okay, and this will be used in the project as well. Okay, a single function where your browser is launching. And we are also putting the implicit wait over here. Okay, right. Anybody with any questions? Anything?
Ashish, I'm getting confused between test car Java class and this car Java class. Test car
Look,
Java class is not the child class, no?
car Java class and machine Java class. These are two classes. Car is extending machine. If I have
Yeah,
to create the object of the car class, I need a main function, right?
yeah,
I need somewhere to, so that is why I use this test car and I use the main function to create the object. If I wanted, I could have, because I want to run the file, right? Only those
yeah,
files execute which have the main function.
yeah,
If I want, I can also move this main function to car class.
yeah, yeah.
Then
That's
then I can run the main this also.
okay.
So
So it can be written here also in
yeah,
the
it can be written anywhere.
okay.
It's only just that I decided to write it in a separate file. Okay, I can also create it in out here. It's just my choice.
Okay.
Or in the machine class also I can use the main function. Basically, main function is the execution function.
Yeah,
Okay, and which can execute your program. So you can
yeah.
place it anywhere, right? So
Thank you.
generally, when we write Selenium code, we don't use the main functions. This is just for Java. When we write Selenium code, we what we use is testng. We use @test. We build test cases. Okay,
Okay.
and that's what I'm going to use from now onwards. I'm going to use these testng @test annotations. Fine, which get automatically executed. I hope everybody has installed testng. Fine. Now,
Ashish,
yeah.
just a question. So, the testng is actually responsible for calling a same work same as a main class, is it?
Yeah, if you use testng @test, this is
Mm.
also one execution point of the program which can be executed. This test case will start executing and the code inside it is analogous or it is equivalent to the main function. Okay, the only thing is that when you use this @test annotation, it works as a test case and in the end you get an output like this that we executed one test and one test passed and failures are 0. Okay, you can also see the results of running the test over here in green. So testng is a unit testing framework. So we use it with Selenium in order to build test cases.
Okay, got it.
So in TestNG, in the background, do we have a main method to call that?
Yeah, definitely there'll be a main method somewhere inside testng, but we don't have to worry about that because somebody else has already done the hard work for us. Okay, and we have to use it. Look, learning Selenium is all about these things. There are predefined commands, there are predefined concepts which you need to learn. There is no rocket science involved. Okay, there are commands like get, find element. You have got the testng test annotations. So that is what the process is in the first phase of learning, which is Selenium and testng commands basically. Okay, and we'll be going through them step by step.
So now difference of the Java code and TestNG is only the annotation, right? So
Yeah, plus you get lot of other features which I haven't taught right now. Okay, I'll teach you with time with testng what are the features. Okay, so like for example, when suppose this is a real-time test case, a simple test in which you have to go and type something in the username field. There can be lot of things over here. You would want to generate a report over here, which is an HTML report. You would want that whatever is the browser name plus this data, hello Zoho. Okay, whatever I'm typing in the text field. You would want to read it from external file so that you know um, when the execution happens, you can change the browser name in the just the file without changing the code, and the test case executes on that particular file. Guys, just keep your mic on mute. It hinders the recording actually. Okay, if you have any questions, you can unmute and ask yourself. Okay, so from this, what if there are a lot of things? What if internet goes down while the script is executing? What if the website goes down? There are different things which you have to take care of. What if this particular URL never opens, although the internet is working? Okay. What if the ID of a username field changes? The developer does some changes and you never know about it, and it never was able to find this element on the web page. What will you do? You have to take care of all those things. Basically, your script should not abruptly fail in between. Okay, right. So there are lots of things which you need to cater to when you are building a script and a stable script, basically. Okay, so we'll gradually come over to these things. All right. But first, let us understand the major thing, which is basically the Selenium commands, which I'm focusing on right now for at least next 1.5 weeks or something. Okay, right. Uh, this is good. Sorry for yesterday, I could not take the class. There was some issue with my PC. Apparently, I restarted it. It actually went fine. So we'll stop here for today. Okay. And I had exercises also with me. I'll share with you tomorrow a few exercises and multiple choice questions. Okay, try to do one thing, or try to just write a simple Selenium script which will log in to your Facebook account, or which will search something on Google. This is quite challenging, the second one. Just try to build these scripts. Okay. So it's not that you have to, build a complete end-to-end project in the beginning. Take up small examples on the internet. Okay, try to interact with some elements on the web page. Try to click on this link, this link. Okay, just need to, investigate the link and just a minute. Yeah, you just need to investigate the link and then right click on it and copy the XPath or something. Okay. So this is the thing. And anyone with any questions, anything?